Mississippi Rewind for Week 4 of the high school football season. I'm Brad Locke, Assistant Sports Editor for the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal, joined tonight by Brandon Speck, Sports Editor for the Amory Advertiser and Aberdeen Examiner newspapers, sister papers of the Journal. So another co-host for me this week, John Pitts last week, Dean Phelps before that. I'm just kind of running through them here, going to run out soon, but appreciate Brandon taking the chance on me. But anyway, big night tonight. Had a big upset, had some overtime thrillers, had some big time performances. First thing I want to get to is the upset. Our number one team, Baldwin, number one in the Daily Journal small school rankings, beaten tonight by Bruce in triple overtime, 40-34. Now this isn't a huge upset because Bruce, like Baldwin, considered one of the top 2A teams in the state. But the Richard Freelon leading the Trojans' effort tonight, he had 208 yards on 39 carries, scored 5 touchdowns, including the game winner in overtime, the third overtime for Bruce. So Bruce moves to 3-1, and I don't know if you've seen him play, Brandon, but this Freelon kid having a fantastic year. This gives him now over 800 yards rushing on the season, and I believe 13 touchdowns. He's about all they got on offense for Bruce, but he's doing a fine job.
He seems to be enough, apparently.
He is, and he's a hard worker and a hard runner, so that's going to shake up the rankings a bit this week in these small schools. Didn't really have any upsets in the large school rankings. Shannon held off Amory. West Point pulled out a win against New Hope. Starkville did lose to a powerful 4A team, Wayne County. Tupelo and Lafayette County coming up with wins. Speaking of Lafayette, they had to go to OT to knock off arch rival Oxford 21-14. That was one of the overtime games tonight. Another overtime game was Okolona defeating Vardaman 7-0. Okolona ranked 4th in the small school rankings. Going back to that Oxford game real quick, Crosstown Classic, you just never know what to expect. Lafayette came in as a favorite, number 5 school in the large school rankings, but Lafayette pulling out a 21-14 win. Montez Phillips had a 1-yard run in overtime, and then Oxford got the ball back and just could not convert. Had a 4th and 11. Lafayette made the stop on a pass into the end zone. So that's the second straight overtime win for Lafayette against Oxford. And then Vardaman and Okolona 7-0 in overtime. So just a defensive struggle throughout, but Okolona pulls it out, and now the Chieftains are 4-0, so new coach Ken Byers just got those guys going real good this year.
They seem to be a pretty good fit down when they were there.
Yeah, they dropped down from 2A, so Okolona doing well in Region 1-1A. Some other games I just want to talk briefly about. I was out at Tupelo Christian tonight to check out the Eagles, their first year as a varsity program. Been wanting to see how they play. Lost to Calhoun Academy tonight, 20-16. That drops the Eagles to 1-1 in District 3A play. Calhoun Academy now 2-0, so that's big for Calhoun Academy, which went 3-7 last year. And your game, Brandon, Shannon at Amory, always a big rival. It used to be 3A rivals. Now Shannon's in 4A. But talk about that one. That was a game that Shannon, the large school number 1, managed to pull out, and that final was what, 34-28?
34-28. It went back and forth. Shannon jumped out 14-0 in the first quarter. Amory turned it around, went 14-14 in the second quarter. Amory came out and jumped out 21-14 early in the third there. It kind of went back and forth. The difference maker came in the final seconds, I think less than 30 seconds ago. Quarterback Richard McFadden from Amory threw kind of a toss-up ball in the end zone, and Stephen Odie, Amory's receiver, came down with Shannon's cornerback, and I think that's Tevin Spurgeon. Yeah, they both came down with it, seemed like, and I've always heard that the tip-up would go to the offense, but apparently not tonight. It didn't, because it went to Shannon, and they, of course, downed it and ended up. But Shannon, apparently their toughest challenge of the year, according to Coach Chad Cook.
Yeah,
so. Coach
Cook, his team, now 4-0 on the season. They did have that bit of a test against West Point in the season opener, that 36-35, so the Red Raiders now moved to 4-0 and firmly entrenched at number 1 in the large school rankings. That brings us, guys, to the 5 stars tonight. And boy, like I said, we had some big performances. Tupelo going down to Madison Central, and Chad Bumpus starting at quarterback. Chris Garrett, I believe, was a little banged up, or maybe he had to have some kind of, yeah, that's what it was, an appendectomy. I'll say, I guess he's out of commission with that. So Chad Bumpus different style quarterback can run it, but he did pretty well. 5 of 11 passing for 136, not bad. 2 touchdowns. He added 87 yards rushing and a touchdown. So Chad leads Tupelo to a 21-3 win over Madison Central. JoJo Pearson, quarterback for Hebron Central. He's been tearing it up all season, and he did it again tonight. Accounted for 457 yards, 149 rushing, 238 through the air, 6 touchdowns, including a 70-yard punt return for Pearson, as Hebron Christian rolled over Macon Central 45-0. Jeremy Cannon helps New Albany get its first win of the season. Cannon had a good night on the ground, 230 yards, 3 touchdowns, as the Bulldogs beat Center Hill 48-15. Courtney Scott of West Point, another big game for him. The senior quarterback, a transfer from Northeast Lauderdale. He had a 203 yards total, 61 rushing, 142 passing, accounted for 5 touchdowns and a 36-6 win over New Hope. And finally, of course, Richard Freelon of Bruce had the big night in the upset of Baldwin, 208 yards on 39 carries. They're going to wear him out, but he likes it. 5 touchdowns. That's the 5 stars. And I wanted to get also to the Nettleton game, a big, very highly anticipated matchup in the Region 2-3A opener for both Nettleton and Louisville. Louisville, a former 4A team, dropped down to 3A with reclassification. And a lot of people expected them to get to Jackson, which is where Nettleton was last year. The Tigers losing to Franklin County in the 3A championship game. The final, Louisville 42 and Nettleton 14. Brandon, you probably heard a lot about this game too. A lot of people expected Nettleton to hang in there and maybe win, but that trio of Clayton Moore, the quarterback, and running backs Dennis Timms, and Arnold Henderson proved too much.
I'll tell you, I talked to Coach Scott Cantrell last week, and this Louisville team that he saw in person last week, he said reminded him a lot of Franklin County, who absolutely just overpowered Nettleton last year in the state championship.
Louisville now obviously the favorite. So that brings us to the end of this edition of Northeast Mississippi Rewind. Please join us next week for Northeast Mississippi Scouting Report on a Thursday and another Rewind edition on Friday. You can catch all this coverage in Saturday's Daily Journal.
Recognize the real POD, 'cause we triple O, triple O.